Welcome Viking! If you're new to the game, you might be wondering how do I really get started on my base building. So today I want to go through 5 tips that should help you early on to just get launched into starting your Viking village. Of course, the first thing you need to do, of course, you should get a stone axe. You have to go pick up some wood and some stone. That's not the trick. You, of course, also want to get your hammer because that one is key to actually doing your building. Once you have the hammer, you simply equip it and you should be crafting, and you should actually be crafting a workbench. And when you do that, you should be good looking for, and if you're lucky, you find out a nice place which has, well, all these other buildings. And you're thinking that, hey, shouldn't I be chopping down all these trees and everything, stockpiling my resources? And actually, no. The best way is to be locating a small village. And I have torn down some of the buildings here a little bit, as you see some destruction around here when I started playing. The first thing, you actually want to locate the village because it's a really good way to grab a bunch of resources really quickly. So you equip your hammer, left click, and you just select it, and you middle click. When you middle click, you basically demolish everything that is around here and you get the resources. And by doing this, you can literally get a building's worth of resources, usually wood, for very little effort and very little time. It does take a little bit of stamina, like most of these things do, and it's super easy to do. And if you just see all these resources that I will be able to use for making my own building. And if I tear this one down, I effectively almost have enough to craft my own building. So see how simple that is? I haven't even been spending, go have a look at the chest as well. I haven't really been spending any time chopping down a tree, which actually is fairly slow and tedious because you get about 10 per tree, or 10 wood per tree, and this actually gives you a lot more. You can of course also dismantle these fences and everything, and don't forget to just pick up these nice little delicious raspberries. Oh, good for eating as well. After that, you want to craft yourself a hoe using some wood and some stone. And actually, you might want to do that before you actually tear down any building that is around, because your workbench needs to be inside the building and a little bit covered before you can actually work it. Otherwise, if I try to, let's say, take things away, it'll generally say that, hey, it's too exposed. So you want to have a bit of a ceiling on everything on it, because you really need that hoe. And what do you need the hoe for? Well, because it's really good for hoeing. Well, that sort of makes sense, right? Now what you do is you have equipped it here. And if you right click, you'll see 3 different things you can do here. One is the level ground, which is what we're going to use. You can also raise ground, but it requires stone. And then you can pattern. But we're going to focus on basically just leveling. And that's something that is pretty easy to do. You basically just click around your area. And you see it's slowly just leveling the area. It is taking a fair bit of the stamina. So you have to stop and just recover a little bit. But what it does, it just gives you a nice little area that you can actually flatten out effectively to give you a level playing field, or level building field rather. And when you build up, you basically just select it, and you can sort of get it to snap to whatever is there, and you can sort of move it around using your, if you have a mouse wheel button, it's really simple just to turn it around, which can be really convenient just to make it look just the way you want to have it. So in this case, I want to have the proper wood on the outside and sort of these wooden planks on the inside. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any early game windows, so I guess the Vikings didn't really use windows early on. And this is why it's so helpful to have demolished the building next to it, because I just pick up everything up. I don't have to go and find more, and then I continue building, which just saves me so much time. And for tip number 3, you want to have a fireplace within your house, because otherwise the fireplace is in the wrong place. And then you go, yep, no problem. I'll just put it down nowhere here, because you can't actually put it on top of, well, wood. Which is sort of makes sense though. So all you need to do is delete the floor, and then you can happily put down your fireplace, and then you have fireplace inside. Now depending on how level the ground is underneath, you actually can put down your wood again after that is done. And it's sort of dependent, it might be sunk down a little bit, but it looks like it's there without having this bloody square that it looks like you just forgot to build it properly. And that's how you get a fireplace within your house. And yeah, you see something else here, except beyond being rested. You see all this smoke. Ugh. And having one fireplace might not even be enough. So you might want to have multiple, and then you get even more smoke. And you notice, actually, and it's actually pretty cool, the smoke goes up and then it goes here, and then it will actually start to go out here because I left an opening. And that's how the old Viking, you see it even going there, sort of goes up as high as it can, and then it moves out into the open. And that's actually how the houses were built. They had sort of a natural chimney that sort of moved the smoke out. They didn't have the chimney that we are sort of thinking about. And it does mean that you have to think a little bit of how you place it, because now all this is going sort of filling up this hole, and you might not want to do that. So you have to think a little bit about where am I going to put these fireplaces and how am I going to get rid of the smoke. And there are fortunately a few ways to do that. So what I built here, you see I put 2 fireplaces. I've sort of made so that the smoke will go straight up here, which is just what we want, sort of. It does come with some other problems, as you'll see outside here, is that, well, the smoke will go straight up, which is what we want. However, when it starts raining, the fireplace, well, the fire will go out because, well, it's straight under the rain. So we have to do something about that. And you can get a little bit creative about how you actually want to do that, because you can do something like this if you wanted. That means that the fireplace is actually covered, but there's still enough space for the smoke actually to escape out. In some cases, you'll notice that, hey, you built the cover and the game feels that actually it has no way of getting rid of that smoke. And then you have to sort of rebuild it a little bit. Let's try something like this instead. This might be enough for actually getting rid of that smoke. And of course, you can make this as fancy as you want to. You just have to make sure that the smoke has somewhere to go so that it doesn't stay inside your building. And it's fairly important where you place this fireplace, because your bed has to, and when you make a bed later on, has to be somewhere around the area. If it's too far away, it says that it's too far away from a fireplace. So something like this is good. That'll give you a fair bit of space. That you actually, I think that sleeping over here is not going to work, but the door is here, which is fine. But the rest of it probably is just fine for putting a bed. Tip number 5 is that the hammer is your friend. No, it's probably one of your best friends you're going to have in the game. Not only can you build, and you do select with the right click all the stuff you want to do, crafting, furniture, building and stuff like that, but you can of course also destroy things like I showed when you're outside. Oh, it's nice and rainy, but fortunately we got a little bit of a house. You can tear things down, which of course what you do with the middle mouse button. But you notice something else. As I move around, I'm selecting the hammer here, which is actually the repair one. If it's broken, then, and I see if I make it a little bit, let's destroy this a little bit. You see the yellow bar there? If I destroy a little bit more, you'll see that it's being a little bit destroyed, and all you do is left click and it will repair it. Really simple. It's good when there's something outside trying to get in. You just make sure you're repairing things. But that's not what I wanted to show. If you see, I'm mousing over here and it says blue, green, green. So what does all this mean? And most of this is blue or green. It actually means that blue is the most stable. The game has sort of a way to handle structural integrity. It's not like Minecraft where everything just floats around, and it's not as simplistic as, I guess, perhaps Ark, where things on top break if you destroy something on the bottom. But it sort of have a way to stick things together and sort of see where is the structural integrity problem. So blue means the strongest. It's on the ground stable. 1 up and 1 away from that is going to be green. 2 up, well, and now this one is turning a bit weak because it's turning yellow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to destroy a little bit here just to allow you to see. We put it 1 higher up and it's yellow. Oh, which means that it's even less stability. If you place it even more, see, it's red. And what does red mean? Well, it means that if I try to build here, oh, it's gonna fall down because there's no way that it's gonna handle the structural integrity. And this is basically the simple way of using the hammer to just see, is my build stable or not? Because with it you can tell, hey, this is getting worse. I probably want to do something here to actually make it more stable. So how do you make it more stable? Well, you could, for instance, just put in some nice little poles, and you see now this one is yellow. It's no longer red because it's being partially supported by this pole. And this is a way you can actually make the buildings a lot stronger just by putting in some cross beams and beams in your building, because it will help to hold things up. Of course, for a small building like this, it's not a major thing, but as you start building things bigger, otherwise you will start seeing collapses. Something you will very quickly run into is that these chests are really good at storing things. Actually, no, they're actually not. They have so little space in them. 10 slots? So what generally happens is that you end up with so many chests around just to store all the loot, the building material that you actually collect. And it's a big pain. And normally when you do that, you realize that, yes, I can sort of put them side by side here. is all right, but I can't put them on top, which is true and it's false. You sort of can't and you sort of can. So what you need to do is you basically put something in between, something like this. I put a plate that then allows me to put another chest on top. And that basically means you can save a lot of space by simply having more of this one. So I put this one and I can put another one up here like that. And now I have another row, which means I can start putting yet another row of chests here. So this is how you put your chest just to make sure you save space, because now I have something like 10 chests here in the same space that if you just put them sideways, if you put, of course you can put it sideways, but like that you probably have about 2 chests. Now you still have the problem with the fact that you can't actually tell what's inside any of them, but that's something that that problem goes away later on, at least to some degree, because then you can make signs that says Grey Dwarf Eyes, for instance. And I'm going to leave you with an extra bonus tip. You probably have been pulling things around like that, and this works. And of course, if you hit shift and you click, you can actually split the stack. Convenient, but it gets really tedious when you go like, okay, I just want to, all this has to go into my chest, because there is a much better way of doing it. You hold Control, left click, left click, left click, left click, and you will basically dump things back and forth from your chest and your inventory. And this is going to save you so much time to just dragging and dropping in. The game isn't really good at explaining it, but remember, hold Control, left click. And you see outside, it's raining. Our fireplaces are still going just fine because they have been protected from the rain by being under cover. We have our little storage room. And we have a little bit of nice beams up here. Okay, not really that nice. I need to do this a little bit better. You might be wondering and be irritated at the fact that this one is sort of in the, sort of not quite connected there. And yes, I have the same problem actually. This one just does not want to connect in the right place, and it's so irritating when that happens, because I can turn it around and you'll see here. Come on, give me a place. No, it doesn't want to move. There you go. I deleted the doorway because the doorway was apparently preventing me from putting that properly. Some of this is a little bit counterintuitive, but it's got to do with how it actually snaps together. And there, doesn't that look much better? And this has been my 5 tips for building early game. Enjoy and get out of the rain, Viking!
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the Vedui community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.